Welcome back to Strikes Talking Points. I'm going to do a real quick one here over the Jared Kushner interview on Axios, and I want to let you know that I've kind of gone through this and watched the Axios. I'm actually a HBO Go subscriber through DirecTV, and CNN's going to cover these eye-browsing moments, and they're going to go through here where basically Jared Kushner is the son-in-law to the current president, and Axios is trying to grill him on personal stuff, politics, and they're extremely one-sided in doing this. And it is one of the reasons you see so many other groups trying to record interviews so that you can see actually both sides of the interview now. I don't know why I have a cocktail dress there going. And they're just going through it with him, and it is just amazing. So here we go. Short clips so that this doesn't get claimed or struck.
You would have thought 3 or 4 years ago that Jared Kushner would be worthy of an interview now.
This is a guy who's 38 years old. He's never worked in government. He's right now the point man to solve peace in the Middle East.
And he's more powerful or less powerful than people think?
Now, they're kind of condescending about him right off the bat. Not worth an interview. He's not government. And I'll go ahead and let you know, these people are not reporters. This is a very much a hit piece pushing at him.
There's no one around Trump. Like, there's no person with Trump. There's no Bannon. There's no Rove. There's no Axelrod. And so
no, those are all people that Axios and most of the left media have been attacking for years to get them out away from the president. And now they're referring to that as being a bad thing, which just kills me.
That's almost the only way to do it. And people in business, people from other governments, they constantly say they go to Jared. There's not a lot of other ways in.
Now, as a news organization, they should put some citations there of who's getting through to Jared and how and why. And that's just not what they're going to do. So we're going to skip forward a little bit. The initial meeting here.
Thanks for having me. Welcome. Appreciate it.
Come sit down.
Sure. Thank you.
And I'm not going to lie. A lot of wealthy people, especially people in the Northeast and in California, seem so weird to me. And Jared just kind of falls right in there. He seems so strange. But to me, also, the reporter is very odd as well.
So the way we were thinking about this was 2 parts.
So, the hit piece and then the follow-up hit piece.
So today we want to talk more about personal. You're one of the most interesting people in American politics. And
after saying that just a few seconds earlier that they couldn't believe he would be interview worthy.
People haven't really heard you,
because he's just there to advise the president. He's not out making policy decisions. He's just talking with his father-in-law.
And tomorrow, we want to. Why the decision to change?
Well, the first couple of years, politics was a newer thing for me. I got involved in the campaign. The president asked me to get involved. I took an increasingly large role as that went on, and getting involved in the transition and coming to Washington was also a new experience. And for me, a big part of it was just focused on doing the work and moving forward.
No, that's his father-in-law asked him to take part in the campaign and help out and to be there because, Trump likes to keep things within his family as best he can because that's how he lives.
Obviously, I'm Jewish, you're Jewish. To what extent does your Judaism inform how you live your life?
Well, I think the religion.
Now, he's basically going to say that it just gives him a moral compass, and, they're really pushing for stuff. We're going to move ahead just a little bit.
23. You had to read in the newspapers that your father was going to prison?
This is talking about his father had done some bad stuff, and he says basically, it was a terrible thing. My family grew closer. Everybody pulled together because that's what families do. Not the intent he wanted out of that, but it was a good answer.
I've definitely feel blessed to have had a great, great parents, great life, great opportunities. This is an amazing country. My grandparents came here as refugees, and they really.
Now, the refugee comment will come up in just a minute because clearly this thing has been edited, and I would like to see the unedited version, but of course Axios wouldn't do that, and Jared, most Republicans, people don't think to record their own interviews. so that they can actually release, the long conversation and actually see what's going on here. Really needs to start happening more.
Built a great life for themselves. My father worked hard, was able to be successful.
How has that experience changed the way you think about things? Have they shared what it was like being a refugee?
It was more they would share what it was like being persecuted. I mean, my grandparents survived the Nazis.
Now, his grandparents left Nazi Germany, come to the U.S. and started working. Now, we're going to move forward just a bit to the attack.
With the policy of cutting it?
Here's the attack. So, of course, he talks about Nazi Germany, and because everywhere in the world now is Nazis, and every refugee that we hear of is Nazis, it's just as bad. They're being slaughtered in the streets. It's not this economic migrant thing we see. It's not that these people are just leaving the countries, as we see through NGOs and different places trying to get people moving. It's not about economic migrants. It's about this.
Yeah,
hippies.
I think that the amount of money you can spend to help refugees
Went too far.
dream. When I came to Washington, the only thing I brought to my office was a picture of them. It's a great reminder of how great this country is, where my grandparents could be on the precipice of life or death, and then come to this country, and 70 years later, their grandson's working.
Now, he's referring to the Holocaust, where millions of Jews were murdered by the Nazis, and how they came here and restarted their lives because they were truly being persecuted, and it was life or death, and they got out. Now, here comes the Axios activist, who will make his point very clear very quickly.
In the White House.
It's true. I mean, the flip side is that picture is also a reminder of, you guys have dramatically reduced the number of refugees intake into this country. I think the lowest level in 40 years.
Now, there you go. Talks about family history, then refugees. In the world right now, there's no world war. There is nothing remotely similar to that. You have small conflicts in the Middle East, started through, of course, George Bush and Obama with the blowing up things to the Arab Spring. Nothing even remotely similar to the World War II era, where dozens and dozens of nations were fighting globally across the Pacific, Africa, Europe, Russia, Middle East, Asia. It is nothing like that right now, but that's the link he's got to make.
Yeah, I think, look, the world right now is we inherited a crazy world. I think what we have done is last year
But isn't it, it's always a crazy world, isn't it?
No, the world now is safer and more stable than any other time. That's a weird pause there.
I think right now you've got 65 million refugees in the world. Right. You can't have all of them come into your country.
I know, but what's the rationale for cutting?
What's the rationale for cutting? So he's, again, left-leaning activist who disguises himself as a journalist who's there not to get a story, but is there to push his agenda. We're 7 minutes in, and he's already said that this person is uninteresting. Then they are very interesting. So he basically flips his own story. Your father-in-law asked for you to come work on it because he's very much into family and keeping people close. Here's your bad parts of your family history. Oh, it made your family stronger, and you kind of united around the fact that your father did some terrible stuff. None of that really matters, because you've got to get to these types of questions. Got to push that, your family came over World War II era to escape the Nazis, where millions of them were being killed en masse. Well, let's relate that to economic migrants, faux refugee claims, which we're seeing all over the world now. NGOs pushing people. Let's relate that. And
So dramatic.
Yeah, I think that the amount of money you can spend to help refugees resettle in their countries and deal with aid is very impactful.
So you agreed with the policy of cutting it to that level?
Cutting. So he's now saying, are you okay with the policy that you don't do, the president does? This is really and truly, I cannot believe people sit down when they're not recording this themselves.
Level?
It doesn't make a difference one way or the other. The number,
Well, I think it does. It means people are either living here or they're not.
Yeah, but in the scheme of the magnitude of the problem we have, I think that we're doing our best to try to make as much impact to allow refugees to be able to go back to their places and conflicts in places like Syria, and find ways to make sure that you're funding these situations so that the people who are immediately becoming refugees can have as much care as possible. But we have a lot of tragedies all over the world, and that, again, one of the reasons why as Americans we're very lucky to be where we are.
I think that was, Jared answered that was a great answer. We can't take them all in. We can't afford to take them all in. We should allocate money to helping rehabilitate the places they're from and get them back in their homes and in their countries. Of course, Axios will not see it that way.
Is there a universe in which you run for office?
Me?
Yeah.
No, it's not something that I would ever think about doing.
Now, here's a rich man, family in real estate, does very well, and 7 minutes in, he's kind of been under attack from the Axios guy over policies he doesn't make, but things that most people agree with around the world, and you're starting to see elections turn that way. I'm going to cut it off here, as the HBO's definitely probably going to hit me up on this, but, you know, I don't think 10 people will watch it. But hey, Axios on Jared Kushner, the first 7 minutes. Personal attack against Jared, personal attack against his father, which his father earned his personal attack, to which Jared responded, I didn't want to get involved in this. I took the job because my family needed me to be there. My father went to jail. The family grew closer over the tragedy and the stupidity of his father. Then his family, being, refugees from the Nazi crisis, they directly compare that to economic migrants who are just fleeing being poor, coming to the U.S., and he states that you can't take them all in because there's only a certain amount of money you can spend, and we should try and rehabilitate the places they live rather than letting them all in. Axios vehemently disagrees, and if you check out the other news reports, CNN, they're just looking for the hit pieces on this, because I've seen it already. This is just a hit piece provided by Axios on HBO to show you that left-leaning journalism is bad, poorly constructed. And to anyone out there, I don't really care for Jared at all, but if you do an interview and you do it with a journalist and it's going to be video or audio or even in print, please record your interview yourself so that you can match up and keep the crazy editing for time, all these different things. You can shut them down and take them out and show what really happens. Thank you. Hope you have a great day.